Imagine living in a time when a single decision from a king could change the fate of millions of people. This is the extraordinary story of Esther, a young orphan who rose from obscurity to become queen and save her people from destruction. A story of courage, purpose, and deliverance that continues to inspire people to this day. It all took place during the reign of the powerful king Ahasuerus, ruler of the vast Persian Empire. His kingdom stretched across 127 provinces, from India to Ethiopia. The king was known for his wealth, his power, and the magnificent banquets he hosted. On one occasion, he organized a celebration that lasted 180 days. Nobles, governors, and leaders from throughout the empire were invited to witness his glory and splendor. At the end of that period, the king held another banquet, this time for all the people living in the citadel of Susa. During the feast, influenced by wine, Ahasuerus decided to display the beauty of his wife, Queen Vashti. He sent messengers commanding her to appear before the guests wearing her royal crown, but Vashti refused. The queen's decision caused outrage among the king's advisors. Fearing that women throughout the empire would follow her example, the leaders recommended that Vashti be removed from her royal position. Ahasuerus accepted their advice, and just like that, the queen's throne became vacant. Sometime later, the king's servant suggested a search for beautiful young women throughout the empire. The chosen women would be brought to the palace, and one of them would become the new queen. Among those young women was Esther. She was Jewish, orphaned at a young age, and had been raised by her cousin Mordecai, a righteous and devoted man. Esther possessed remarkable beauty, but she was also known for her humility, wisdom, and noble character. When she was taken to the palace, she quickly gained the admiration of those responsible for the royal quarters. For months, she received special treatments and preparation before being presented to the king. Mordecai had given her an important instruction. He told Esther not to reveal her Jewish identity, and she obeyed. Finally, the day came when Esther was presented to the king. When Ahasuerus saw her, something extraordinary happened. Among all the women in the kingdom, Esther found favor in his eyes. The king placed the royal crown upon her head and declared her queen of Persia. The young orphan had become the most influential woman in the empire, but her story was only beginning. If you enjoy Bible stories that reveal how God transforms ordinary people into extraordinary instruments of His purpose, be sure to subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who needs to hear this message today. One day Mordecai discovered a conspiracy. 2 palace officials were plotting to assassinate the king. Immediately, he informed Esther, who reported the matter to Ahasuerus. An investigation was conducted. The conspiracy was confirmed. The traitors were punished, and Mordecai's act of loyalty was recorded in the official chronicles of the kingdom. It seemed like an insignificant detail, but God was preparing something greater. Meanwhile, a man named Haman was rising to power. He was promoted to a position of great authority and became one of the highest-ranking officials in the empire. The king commanded that everyone bow before him. Everyone obeyed, everyone except Mordecai. As a faithful Jew, Mordecai refused to bow before Haman. Haman became furious, but his anger went far beyond one man. When he learned that Mordecai was Jewish, he decided to destroy all the Jewish people throughout the empire. Driven by hatred, Haman convinced the king to sign a decree. The order declared that on a specific day, all Jews would be exterminated, men, women, and children. The decree was sent throughout every province of the kingdom. When the news spread, despair swept through the people. Mordecai tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and covered himself with ashes. He wept openly through the streets of the city. When Esther learned what was happening, she sent messengers to understand the situation. Mordecai explained everything. He showed her a copy of the decree, and he sent a message that would change history. He urged Esther to go before the king and plead for her people. But there was a problem. Anyone who approached the king without being summoned could be sentenced to death. Not even the queen was exempt from this law. Esther replied that she had not been called into the king's presence for 30 days. To enter uninvited meant risking her own life. Then Mordecai sent back a powerful response. He said, "Do not think that because you are in the king's palace, you alone will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. But who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Those words deeply touched Esther's heart. She realized that her position was not merely a privilege, it was a purpose. If this message is speaking to your heart right now, share this video. Someone close to you may need this reminder that God has a purpose for their life at this very moment. Then Esther sent her final response. She asked all the Jews to fast for 3 days. She and her attendants would do the same. And she declared, "After that, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." After the 3 days, Esther put on her royal robes and walked toward the throne room. It was one of the most dangerous moments of her life. The king was seated upon his throne. When he saw her, the room fell silent. Then the unexpected happened. Ahasuerus extended his golden scepter. Esther had found favor before him. Her life was spared. The king asked what she desired, but Esther acted with wisdom. Instead of revealing everything immediately, she invited the king and Haman to a banquet. During the meal, the king again asked what her request was. Once more, Esther invited them to another banquet on the following day. Meanwhile, Haman left feeling pleased. But when he once again saw Mordecai refusing to bow before him, he was filled with rage. That very night, he ordered the construction of a massive gallows to execute Mordecai. It seemed that the end was near, but that night, the king could not sleep. To pass the time, he ordered the royal chronicles to be read to him. That was when he discovered something remarkable. Years earlier, Mordecai had saved his life, yet he had never been rewarded. The next morning, Haman arrived at the palace, intending to request permission to execute Mordecai. Before he could speak, the king asked him a question. What should be done for the man whom the king delights to honor? Thinking the honor was intended for himself, Haman suggested a grand public celebration. Then the king replied, "Do exactly as you have said for Mordecai." Haman was forced to lead through the streets the very man he hated most. It was a complete humiliation. Later, during the second banquet, Esther finally revealed the truth. She told the king that someone had plotted to destroy her people. Then she revealed something no one knew. She herself was Jewish. The king was shocked. When he demanded to know who was responsible, Esther pointed directly at Haman. The powerful official was terrified. Ahasuerus became enraged. Haman was condemned, and the very gallows he had prepared for Mordecai became the instrument of his own downfall. But there was still a problem. The decree against the Jews had already been issued. According to Persian law, it could not be revoked. So the king authorized a new decree. Now the Jewish people were permitted to defend themselves against any attack. When the appointed day arrived, their enemies did not prevail. The people were preserved. Destruction was transformed into deliverance. Sorrow gave way to joy. Fear was replaced by hope. Mordecai was elevated to a position of honor in the kingdom. Esther remained by the king's side, and a great celebration was established to remember that deliverance. That celebration became known as the Feast of Purim. To this day, millions of Jews around the world remember that extraordinary moment. The story of Esther teaches us that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is doing what is right even when there is great risk. It also reminds us that God can use ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary purposes. A young orphan became a queen. A queen became an instrument of salvation. And an entire nation was preserved because one woman chose to answer her calling at the right moment. If this story strengthened your faith, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and share this video. By doing so, more people will be able to discover life-changing messages like the story of Esther. And perhaps the question asked of Esther is also meant for us. Who knows whether you have been placed exactly where you are for such a time as this?